One's ready. One's ready. Go!
Welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. This is your daily drop for the 22nd of May. We still have one slot remaining now for an operator training summit that's happening in San Diego, 21 and 22 June. Please join us out there. Would love to have you. Think of instructorship, mentorship. We're going to give you 12 hours in the pool to work your ass over and mold you into something that you need to be in order to be successful in the pipeline. And it's not going to guarantee that you graduate because we do that, but it at least gives you the tools and properly equips you to better handle those stresses that are going to be thrown at you in the pipeline. All right. This is the news that is curated from public affairs at the Department of the Air Force level and sent out to, it's on the public affairs page. So I basically take that, throw the 6-7 page document through AI, and then have it give me the gist of each topic. And then I'll read it out to you and we'll see if we have any opinions or insider baseball. All right, first up, joint news. Changes to the PCS moving program. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered immediate modifications to the troubled household goods program, including a review of moving rates under the global household goods contract. I think we talked about this the other day. It was like, if I remember right, I think it was $18 billion a year the DoD spends on moving people. Like, that's an insane amount of money. The Defense Department will increase reimbursements for personally procured moves and has replaced the senior official overseeing the program. So that's a good thing, though, because there was a time where you used to get reimbursed a whole lot more money if you did a do-it-yourself move or even a partial do-it-yourself move. And then they cut those rates back. So it's good to see that they're bringing it back. Military spouse dissatisfaction with PCS, or permanent change of station. A 2024 Defense Department survey revealed over half of military spouses are unhappy with military life, primarily due to the stress of permanent change of station moves, which disrupts employment. The DoD is exploring ways to ease the burden of moves to improve geographic stability with families. Yeah, lots of military members, husbands and wives, also have jobs, but not related to the military itself, or not government jobs. You know, some of them have their own businesses. Some of them work for X, Y, and Z company that are out there. And if they're not a nationwide company, or wherever base the next duty station that the person goes to, maybe they can't telework, or maybe there's not a branch that they get transferred to. So they essentially lose their ability to work in that company with forward progression and all that kind of stuff. So not only does that put stress on the spouse itself, but it also puts stress on the family because, hey, that's another set of income that they are now losing or have to adjust for and plan for and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm not really surprised with the amount of dual income homes that are out there now. Apart from, your trad wives and trad husbands and stuff like that, like, this is a real problem. So I'm kind of glad that they're at least looking into it. I'm not super confident that anything will be done about it. And to be honest, I don't really have a solution for it, but at least they're looking into it. That's a start. Got to start somewhere. All right. DISA workforce reduction. The Defense Information Systems Agency, DISA, faces a 10% workforce cut, prompting a realignment to optimize its evolving mission, according to the director, Lieutenant General Paul Stanton. DISA plans to selectively rehire to fill critical technical roles in IT and cyberspace. 10% workforce cut is significant. That's a lot of people. Man, they're going to feel that. All right, Air Force news. Potential increase in B-21 Raider procurement. Chief of Staff David Alvin, Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General David Alvin, indicated the Air Force may purchase more than planned 100 B-21 Raiders if B-52J Stratofortress upgrades encounter issues. Commanders recommend acquiring 145 B-21s to bolster strategic capabilities pending additional funding. I don't know how many B-2s we have, but whether it's 145 or 100 or whether it's 100 or 145, that's a lot of iron. That's a lot of B-21 love, man, which I'm pretty excited about because it seems like an awesome platform. So I'm stoked. All right. Next, Minuteman III ICBM test launch. The Air Force conducted a successful test launch of an unarmed Minuteman III ICBM from Vandenberg Space Force Base, traveling 4,200 miles to Kwajalein Atoll. The test demonstrated the readiness of the U.S. nuclear deterrence ICBM component. Rock on. I bet that was a sight to see. New training center in Alaska, a new Joint Integrated Test and Training Center, or JITC for anybody who's in the military and is familiar with that, at Joint Base Elmendorf, Richardson, Alaska, set for completion by 2029, will enhance multi-domain training for joint and coalition forces. The facility underscores Alaska's strategic role in Arctic defense and homeland security. The capability of these things, of JITC, not only here in Nellis, because we have a JITC here in Nellis, but up there in Elmendorf, like the virtual training range that is going to be developed in this is going to be spectacular. All right, next, Air Force Secretary at Academy graduation. The Air Force Secretary, Dr. Troy, a former KC-135 navigator, will deliver the commencement address at the Air Force Academy on May 29th. His extensive experience includes leadership roles in the National Reconnaissance Office and Air Force Communications. Hopefully he's an engaging speaker. Next up, hurricane hunters prepare for 2025 season. I just brought up hurricanes yesterday, actually. The 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron is ready for the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season using a staging area in St. Croix, South Carolina. Education people, give me a freaking break, all right? I can hear you snickering already. Their aircraft collect critical data such as sea level pressure and wind structure to enhance National Hurricane Center forecasts. Man, if you guys haven't seen the videos of some of these weather hunters going through on, C-130Js and the Navy has their own as well, like how bumpy and how wild of a ride that is, like, dude, you guys can keep that. I want no part of that. Low levels jumping were enough for me. Nope, not for me. Our next F-15 deployment to Diego Garcia. The Air Force deployed F-15 Eagles to Diego Garcia for a force protection mission amid concerns about potential escalation with Iran and its proxies. Recent B-2 Spirit bomber deployments in island highlight is strategic importance. Next, F-16 drone collision incident. An F-16D, which is a two-seater F-16, was struck by a small drone during a 2023 exercise over Arizona, with no injuries or damage reported. The incident was confirmed after ruling out a bird strike, highlighting emerging risk in training environments. Yes, so when we talk about counter-drone stuff, people tend to think about the Russia-Ukraine thing, anti-drone stuff or counter-drone stuff in terms of combat areas, right? But the amount of incursions that happen with civilian drones, whether inadvertently or intentional, is a big issue stateside and at other, European Pacific locations. So this is a big concern, and counter drone stuff is definitely, we've got technology out there, but we've got to increase it without a doubt. All right, moving on to Space Force news. The Space Force funding shortfalls. Chief of Space Operations General Chance Saltzman warned that the Space Force is underfunded for its space superiority mission, facing shrinking resources despite growing threats. Limited funding and personnel hinder the development of new capabilities needed to secure the space domain. You've heard us talk about it with General Deptula, retired General Deptula. He's a big span of face. We've talked about Jared Isaacman, great for NASA being the administrator. But when the Space Force gets 3% of the DoD budget, that is insane to me. Got it. The Air Force is buying You know, the CCAs, the Collaborative Combat Aircraft, it's buying the F-47, it's buying the B-21. That's an expensive bill. The Navy's trying to buy ships too and build ships. That's a massive expense too. The Army has got to cut back on tanks. The Army's got to cut back on its helicopter stuff. You know, that like it's not a status quo with the budget. It needs to fluctuate and understand current needs and then emerging requirements. And space, it is the final frontier, or is it the final frontier? I don't know. We'll have to ask Captain Picard. But we need an increase in budget with the Space Force. And I'm not saying increase the entire DoD budget. What I'm saying is that we got to be smart about it. Maybe, just maybe, the Army needs to get their stuff cut. Maybe the Marines need to get their stuff cut. Maybe the Air Force needs the Air Force, for sure, without a doubt, needs to take a look at its programs and its spending and figure out where to make cuts. Like, we just can't keep operating the same way we've been doing it. You guys have heard me talk about how in debt some of these major commands are, and overspent, and we're continuing to spend. Like, we've got spending issues. Somebody needs to take our credit cards and cut them up. All right, Space Force NGA Commercial ISR agreement. The Space Force National Geospatial Intelligence Agency signed an agreement to clarify roles in acquiring commercial intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance data. The Space Force's tactical surveillance program focuses on unclassified, shareable data distinct from NGA's intelligence needs. Next, these are of interest. Military IDs as real ID alternatives. TSA officers are trained to accept military IDs in lieu of real IDs for air travel. Following the recent real ID requirement, the Defense Department is transitioning to next-gen ID cards, though no deadline has been set. Legislation to protect transgender troops. House Democrats introduced a bill to prevent the Defense Department from discharging transgender service members based on gender identity or gender dysphoria. The legislation responds to new DoD screening policies for gender dysphoria during health assessments. Blue Star Museums Program. The Blue Star Museums Program offers free admission to military families at about 2,000 museums through Labor Day, fostering community connection. Qualified service members must present a military ID to participate. Thanks for doing that, the participating museums. Space Force Personnel Management Challenges. The Space Force Personnel Management Act aims to modernize force structure, but faces opposition from National Governors Association over reassigning Air National Guard units without gubernatorial consent. The transparent communication with the states is critical to address culture and economic concerns. So what's funny to me about this is that the governor, like, there's a lot of lines that get crossed in here, right? But the National Guard belongs to the governor ultimately, right? And the governor can decide to release his forces to go do something, or he can task his forces to go do something. And it's funny to me that the Space Force personnel would try and make moves without getting that approval and taking away a capability from one governor to give it to a different governor. That just seems backwards to me. But what the hell do I know? All right, last one. China's fighter jet advancements. China's increasingly sophisticated anti-access, anti-denial systems and systems integration demonstrated in recent India-Pakistan conflicts pose concerns for the U.S. and Taiwan. Despite the U.S. Air Force's larger fleet, China's rapid advancements challenge its technological edge. Completely agree. When you start talking about the capability of their aircraft, the capability of their missiles, like, it is nothing to be scoffed at. Can we beat it or beat them? Yes, we can. But it's still going to be super, super ugly. And there's going to be a lot of death and destruction because their stuff, they don't worry about acquisitions. They don't worry about procurement. They just get it done. Whereas we have all kinds of bureaucratic BS that we got to get around. So anyway, that's your daily drop. Appreciate you joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Visit us over on websready.com. Pick yourself up a piece of merch. And if you want to join us in San Diego for the Operator Training Summit, hit us up, leave a comment. Later.